These are Yamaha's mid-range earphones from their TW lineup, but they do have a premium look and feel to them. They do not disappoint, but they are not for everybody. These are the Yamaha TW-E5B. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. These are the second set of Yamaha earphones that I'm reviewing, and they seem to be following a certain theme when it comes to their sound. But before I speak about that, thank you to Yamaha for making this review possible and sending me a demo unit. All thoughts and opinions are my own. So let's jump straight in with their build. The unboxing experience is very similar to the E3B, which is kind of traditional. Upon opening the box, you get the earphones and case wrapped in a sleeve to protect it during shipping. Above it, you open a section to reveal a paper bag that's holding a USB-C cable and 3 extra sets of ear tips, so you can find the perfect size that fits you. You get an extra small, medium on the earphones and a large as well. You also get an extra box below which holds the literature. The case has a textured finish to the top of the lid I've not seen before. It's got a nice feel to it and the traditional 3 tuning fork logo on the left side of the case. The rest of the case has a matte finish which looks smooth but offers good grip to hold within your palm. The front has 4 LED lights to show you how much charge the case has, and the rear of the case has a USB-C charging point. When you open the case, you're greeted with the same theme as the case that's been carried over onto the earphones. They switch on when taken out of the case, letting you know they're on when the LED lights up, and the rest of the housing is also made to match the case with a matte finish. You get tactile buttons that have a nice click to them for controlling your music, and although these are a large looking set of earphones, they weigh in at a light 6.5 grams each. These have an interesting design when it comes to how they fit. This section here fits snugly into the concha, while the ear tip sits in the opening of your ear canal. It's got an oval shape to it, so you can lock it into place for the most comfortable fit. To begin with, I didn't notice this and it did seem a bit uncomfortable. I twisted the earphones a bit until they fitted securely and comfortably. There's a groove on the back which holds onto the fold of your ear, ensuring its stability. It's a very neat design which should work for securing these with most people. These come with an IPX5 rating, so you can use these for exercise sessions or when you go out running and there is a slight rain. These come with Bluetooth version 5.2, it has voice assistant support and it has tactile buttons instead of touch controls. It is old school, but it's also trouble-free. These don't come with active noise cancelling, and considering how well these isolate, I can see exactly why they chose not to include that feature. Once you figure out the correct ear tip size, you will benefit from really good passive isolation, making you wish that these did have a transparency mode. Thankfully, however, the app does in fact offer an ambient sound mode, which lets you hear sounds around you if you're going for a run or walk where you need to be aware of your surroundings. It's got a gaming mode which does improve the delay significantly, but there is still a very slight delay with it on. This is expected from any wireless earphones. The Yamaha's listening care feature is standard across all their earphones and headphones, and you also get EQ presets and a manual EQ in the app, and I'll speak about these in the chapter about sound. To operate the tactile buttons, the button on the left works as a play and pause button if you press it once. Pressing it twice will toggle between the ambient mode on and off. The right earbuds button lets you increase the volume with the upper button with one press and skip to the next track with a double press, and the lower button is a volume down with one press and previous track with 2 presses. And to activate your voice assistant, you have to hold down the lower button for about 1 second. These passively isolate really well, and I didn't really find myself missing active noise cancelling. But these do have environmental noise cancelling for taking phone calls. They come with 2 mics and use MEMS microphones, which is preferred by a lot of high-end manufacturers. It uses Qualcomm's CVC or clear voice capture technology, which should help isolate your voice over all the noise around you, helping your recipient hear you a lot better. But there is really only one way to find out if you want to see how this functions in the real world. So I'm calling from the usual busy street that I normally do a lot of these call tests from, just to give you that sense of how much of the environment these earphones are going to be battling now. There is of course traffic going on behind me, and there is some construction work as well. One of the things that Yamaha has done with these earphones is the opening that carries your voice to the circuit board has been constructed with the silicone tube so as to reduce any unnecessary resonances before reaching that circuit board. So hopefully it should make my voice a bit clearer. So what I've been doing is I've been on the camera microphone up until now. So I'll shift over to the E5B's microphone right about now. So this should give you a general idea of how much it tackles this kind of environment. Now this is of course a worst case scenario. If you were to use these earphones in an office or home environment, if it can do this much of suppression over here, it can certainly do a much better job in those controlled environments. Now usually what I do when a set of earphones has active noise cancelling is I toggle between the settings to see if there is any shift in the algorithm if there's extra load on the earphones, but these don't have active noise cancelling. But what they do have is a transparency mode. So what I'll do is just for you to observe, because you are the deciding factor when it comes to the call quality of this. You asked me the reviewer seat right now. So I will toggle between the ambient sound. Right now it's being off, and all the sound for me has been suppressed with the passive isolation. I will switch on the ambient sound now. And one thing I've noticed right now is that it's not come on while I'm on call. So it doesn't work, I guess, when you're on call. It doesn't toggle between ambient sound mode on and off. So I just disconnect the call to see what's going on exactly. And when you switch the ambient mode on when you're not on a call, it does stay on, in fact. And a lot of this noise does come in. And it is quite unpleasant because it is quite loud over here. But as soon as you make a call, it switches the transparency mode off. So I suppose they've done this so that you're not distracted while you're conversing with somebody, because obviously a lot of noise coming in won't let you focus in on your call. So once you're done with the call and you end it, it goes back to resuming with the ambient mode on. So I guess it's a neat little feature that they've added to this, and it is kind of convenient in a certain sense. So I hope this call demo has given you a better understanding of these earphones and how they handle their ENC in particular. And of course, I will see you back in the studio. These come with a 7mm dynamic driver, and it's made out of a high performance thermoplastic. So the moisture uptake is minimal and the mechanical strength is really good. So if you're planning on keeping these for a prolonged period of time, the chances are that the driver will certainly outlive your batteries. The driver is placed on the same axis as the conduit that's delivering audio to you. This ensures that there won't be any reflected sounds being delivered to your eardrum. They have also incorporated 2 tuning ports on each earphone, which kind of works like a bass reflex port would work with speakers. This has definitely aided the way these stage as well as image. These ports do let these earphones breathe a bit, and it has allowed them to manipulate the air the way they'd want to so that they could give you the best sound possible. This supports SBC, AAC and aptX adaptive codecs, and it also has a frequency response of 20 Hz all the way up to 20,000 Hz. These can get a little too loud at 80% volume, but thankfully Yamaha has tuned these in such a way where you don't really have to crank the volume too high if you want to preserve your hearing. They've got a feature in the app called Listening Care, and what this basically does is the frequencies that we respond to differently at lower volumes are cranked up, which is mainly the lower and higher ones, and they crank it to a point where it stays rounded whether you listen to it at a higher volume or lower volume. So you never really have to scan your volume level to find a sweet spot. I've tested these anywhere between 35 to 50%. They sound full and rounded, even all the way down from 5 to 10% volume. It is a bit surreal to listen to such rounded audio even at much lower volumes, and hopefully this will prevent a lot of people from cranking the volume too up, because it has become kind of common for a lot of people to start losing their hearing because they keep listening to earphones at a very high volume for a long period of time. Soundstage with these is a little more expansive than most other TWS earphones that I wasn't expecting. There is good separation between left and right channel, and your phantom channel sits dead center. Some tones do give you the illusion of coming from slightly further out of the earphones more often than not, and this does give you a slightly wider stage than most other TWS earphones. These are sharp with detailed presentation when it comes to the imaging. I'm starting to see a theme with Yamaha when it comes to this. These won't give you audiophile levels of detailed recovery, but are constructed well enough to let you zone on to the nuances you'd like to enjoy in your music. High frequencies are a tad bit accentuated, but stay away from being shrill. They stay well defined and have a slight forward approach towards their presentation compared to the mids. I did think these would be a bit on the sibilant side of things, but they don't really have issues with P's and S's from any vocalists, ensuring fatigue-free listening for hours on end. Listening to If I Ain't Got You featuring Kenton Chen, performed by the Scary Pockets. There's a good amount of chimes in this tune which, despite sitting in the distance of this recording, come through with a good amount of detail and energy. Mid frequencies are tuned to sit a little back in the stage, which can give these a little bit of dimension when it comes to their vocals. especially when it comes to harmony. Both male and female vocals remain rounded and defined in their delivery, with instruments in this range maintaining their own individuality, and they don't drown into the vocals as long as you're listening to a good recording. Listening to Philips' Home, these earphones do justice to this acoustic piece and have gotten me a newfound appreciation for this artist. There's a good amount of harmonizing in this track, which is mixed well, and these earphones make it ever so simple to enjoy this range and focus on specific vocal tracks thanks to how well they image as well. Low frequencies are no slouch. The thickness and body that the E3B was missing out on, these make up for. They have good extension and energy, but they seem to lean more towards a truth than an exaggerated delivery. Bass heads won't like these for certain. They don't have the heaviness or bloat that can loosen up earwax. Rather, they present this range without unnecessary color. It is well defined, but I wish it were a tad bit tighter in its delivery. You can tune this range a bit with a manual EQ, or you can choose a preset EQ that you prefer. Listening to Shawn Mendes' Lost in Japan, this remains a fun sounding track with a healthy delivery of the sub-low frequencies. Despite having good extension, it maintains a clean response and doesn't mess with the highs and mids in their detail. You've got the lack of bloat to thank for this clean response. I've tested these on their flat EQ as you get it out of the box, but you can tune the EQ. You get 5 bands you can play with, but they don't stretch out too far. I think you get about maybe a +3 and a -3 dB level, which is a good way to avoid distortion. It also does come with 5 different presets, which are Energy, which accentuates the bass by a good amount and pushes the treble up a bit, making your audio a little bit richer with more body in the bass without getting distorted. Gentle makes things a little easier on the ear compared to the previous EQ and is quite nice to use with acoustic or big band music. Vocal enhances mid-range for clearer vocals, but also brings in more air, making it sound a bit sibilant, which can work well for audiobooks or podcasts. But having said that, there is still a good amount of bass despite being reduced a bit. Groove makes things a little more lively than the last EQ with the right amount of bass, and the sibilance doesn't exist with this preset. And openness seems to open up frequency ranges where reverb exists, which does in fact give the illusion of being a little more open. Then you get 2 user profiles you can customize and save your own settings in with the manual settings for the EQ. So to sum up, when it comes to its build, it is a nice case. It's got a nice matte finish to it, and I really do like the texture on top. I've not really seen anything like this on any other set of earphones. It is a very neat looking design. The case is designed almost in a way where it was built to fit in the cup of your hand, but it can fit into your bag or your backpack, I'm sure, without a problem. The case does have some weight to it, so it doesn't feel flimsy. Some other TWS earphones that I've used in the past do feel very light and almost as if you drop it, they'll just break apart. This seems like it's built in a very sturdy fashion. On a feature front, it's not really feature packed, but I think it's got whatever it needs to have. In fact, I'm surprised that it's got transparency mode included, and that's actually, I think, purely because its passive isolation is that good, because sometimes my wife came near my studio to talk to me and I couldn't hear her. I've experienced that usually with some ANC headphones which are much higher end, but these passively isolate really well. I actually like that it doesn't have touch controls, because sometimes engaging with touch controls can get a little confusing. There's nothing like having a tactile button, because you know it's built to last. It is old school, but you're more connected with your earphones or headphones in that case, and you are that much more connected to your music as well. When it comes to their sound, they are terrifically detailed. The highs and mids are quite crisp, but I do wish that the bass was a bit tighter. It just seems a little lethargic at times. You can tune the EQ to a certain extent, but it doesn't do too much in tightening up this one's bass. Now, no doubt this does produce a lot more lower frequencies than the E3B did, the previous set of earphones that I tested. But maybe I am expecting too much from these earphones, because they are not actually audiophile grade earphones. These do what they have to and they do them well. In fact, the one thing I really like about the sound that Yamaha has done is the listening care. The fact that it's so balanced at even lower volumes it's genuinely surreal, because my first instinct when I put them on was to crank the volume straight up to 45 or 50%, because usually that's the sweet spot for most earphones. But right from 5, 10, 25, 35, 50%, it stays very balanced. So the only time I see anyone wanting to crank the volume beyond 50%, maybe to drown out noises, even if the passive isolation is not good enough, in places where it's really noisy. But that I wouldn't recommend because you can damage your ears in the long run. These do actually have very good imaging, and the staging is wide for a set of TWS earphones. And I definitely wouldn't recommend these if you're a bass head, because there definitely isn't any bloatedness in this. Yamaha seems to want to ensure that they deliver a trueness of sounds. What I have heard from Yamaha in the past are a few pianos, because I have played them, and they've always had a very interesting tone to them. So I can see exactly why they're trying to maintain that kind of true tonality. And honestly, kudos to them for sticking to their guns and ensuring that they push for a true sound rather than the loudness war that's going on right now with every other TWS earphone. I think a lot of musicians are going to appreciate these, because anyone who's interacted with actual acoustic instruments, be it guitars, violins, pianos, will know exactly what actual instruments sound like, and they will have an appreciation for this kind of sound. These certainly are not colored compared to a lot of other TWS earphones. So honestly, if you're somebody who likes over exaggerated tones, be it highs or lows, I don't think these are targeted at you. These might be a stepping stone for a lot of people to maybe get into the audiophile hobby, or these could also be for casual listening for audiophiles. If you are an audiophile and you want something to just listen to while you're out and about, passively listening, not actively listening, these could work very well. So how much do these cost? Well, at the time of recording this, Yamaha has recently launched these earphones. So by the time this video is out, it should be available online. But right now on the Yamaha website, it's going at an MRP of 14,200. So by the time this is live, it should be available on Amazon and all. Now, it's worthwhile jumping between the two sites and seeing where you can get a better deal for these if you'd like to buy them. And I'll leave both links down below if you'd like to pick these up. Now, at this kind of price, you'd really think, is it really worth it? Now, considering the amount of earphones that are in the market, you've got no end of options. But from my experience with dealing with so many earphones and reviewing them, I think Yamaha has stuck to their guns and stuck to a truer sound. So if you are generally somebody who wants a trueness in the delivery of music, you want to appreciate better recordings in a wireless method and not use a wire, I think these are definitely worth it. So if you're still here, I do presume you like the content on my channel, and if you would like to support it, I'm sure you know exactly how to. I hope I've helped you make some sort of purchase decision. But of course, thank you for tuning into Paul's POV for some sound advice.